Hey guys, so we have another witness who has come out to speak on the situation involving Trinity Eslinger at that beach in Destin, Florida. This is actually the niece of the woman who spoke out a couple of days ago. She was the woman described to have been on the paddleboard who saved Trinity's mother, Raven. Take a listen right now, you guys. If you are unfamiliar with this case and would like to get caught up, just click the comment and it will take you to the thread of videos that I've had made.
Hi, I am going to share my detail of events of what happened when Trinity Eslinger was lost in the water at Osteen Beach in Destin, Florida on Thursday evening. So it was probably around 7:15 p.m., I'm thinking, and all of this is my point of view. So if some of the details don't match, like, you guys have to understand that we all saw different vantage points and different points of view. Everything happened very fast. So I was going out on my aunt's paddleboard. I didn't want to go. And she was like, come on, like, it's so fun. You need to do it. Just do it for a minute. And I started paddleboarding out. After about 1 minute, I heard a small voice saying help. And it sounded like a male's voice. I wasn't sure. I looked over and I saw a male in the water. And another male in the water. I wasn't sure if they were adults or children. I thought they were two adults, but I wasn't certain. And so I'm getting distracted by that. And then I look in front of me and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've gotten pulled out, far out, way farther out than I wanted to. The water was completely dark and murky. You couldn't see anything in it. It looked black. And the waves were big, and I started panicking a little because I was like, I'm way too far out. I don't have a life vest and I need to get back. So I start trying to row back, and I'm realizing that it's way more difficult than I thought it would be. And so that's when I start getting serious and using a good amount of my strength, almost all my strength, to row, to turn the paddleboard around. Once I got it turned around, I was thankfully able to paddle back to the shore, and that was what was my sole focus, is getting back to shore to my own 4 children. When I made it close to the shore, I heard the help again, and my aunt was yelling at me because she saw how far out I had gotten, and I was still standing up instead of sitting down because I don't have experience paddleboarding, and I didn't even think sitting down would be smarter. I was just so focused on getting back to the shore. And so I got closer to the shore. My aunt was there, and she was trying to get me to get off the paddleboard. And I said, I can't. Somebody needs help. Like, I have to go. And so I start going towards, and she's still worried about me. She's like, well, sit down. I think at that point I sat down. I really don't even remember. But I go over as fast as I can to the people asking for help. And once again, I'm only seeing 2 males in the water. And the people on the beach are waving their arms and screaming. But it's very hard to hear over the waves and everything. And they had alerted a boat that was, a little further out to come as well. And so the boat was headed towards the people in the water, and I was also headed towards the people in the water. The boat stopped a couple seconds before I got over there, and I was thinking I saw him get to the 2 males in the water, and so I was thinking that there was nothing else for me to do when I see the mom's, Raven, her head come. To me, it seemed like it appeared out of nowhere. And at the time, I thought, did she come from the back of the boat? But now that the post that she's put out and her boyfriend has put out, I'm believing that she was actually under the water, and that's why she came up out of nowhere. And she immediately pops her head up and starts and screams, Trinity, where's Trinity? And screaming for her, hoping that she was still right there and could say, I'm here, or maybe she was in the boat. And you can see the panic on her face. And as a mom, I immediately knew I didn't see her. And so I started feeling that panicking feeling as well. But I just told her, take a deep breath, slow your breathing, take the end. And I thought she could get over to me. She couldn't. So I gave her the end of my oar and pulled her to the paddleboard. She still didn't have the strength to pull herself up on the paddleboard. She was so weak from keeping herself and her daughter afloat for the time that she did. So she said, "You have to help me up." And I said, "Okay, but you can't grab me," because I was terrified that I would get pulled in. And I'm totally willing to risk my life for others, especially before I had children. But now that I have these children and my oldest is not my husband's, I feel like they really need me to be here to take care of them. And so, as a mom, they're my first priority. So I said, "You can't grab me." I put my forearm under her forearm and I pulled, and I said, "Use all your strength." And we pulled her up on the paddleboard. And, of course, she's screaming, looking around. Fear set into me that she would try to get back in the water. And so I'm paddling. I did look around, but I didn't see her. And so I just, in my spirit, was like, I have to go back to the shore. And so I paddled back as fast as I could. And that is my recollection. Now we've also had the boyfriend speak out and give his recollection if you want to go watch it. And then I've also spoken to the man on the boat, and he has told me that he got there was actually 2 men in the water, Raven, which is Trinity's mother, and the Raven's significant other and his son. And so he pulled the son on. He never saw the girl. He was on his boat with a child. I'm not going to give the details out on that. It may have looked like a man to the people that were that were like so focused on where she was at the time, but it was a child that was on board. And so anyway, he told me that there was actually 2 men in the water, and that is who Raven was referring to, that she gave Trinity over to someone that could swim, was 2 men in the water that I'm assuming came from shore. And I don't know how, but I did hear as I was going back, somebody say that she got pulled under the boat. I vividly remember hearing that. And so anyways, the man on the boat rescued 2 men that were swimming, trying to help Trinity stay afloat. They rescued the man that was there, that is Raven's significant other. And they also rescued his son. And then I rescued Raven. And so we all got back to the shore. By then, the police had finally come, because it did take a while for people to call 911. I think they just maybe thought everyone would be rescued. And once again, it was hard to see with the waves and the dark water and all of those things. There was a lot going on. So once I got Raven on board, I was waving saying call 911, and that's at the point that 911 was actually called. And if you guys, like I said, you have these horrible comments, keep them to yourself, because at this point it does no good. It's only causing the mother more pain. I'm sure the mother is thinking about the things that she could have done to prevent this. And the boyfriend in his video as well, he says, "I take full responsibility. I planned the trip." He is feeling very horrible as well. And so this isn't the time to be shaming anybody. This is only the time to be, giving them the credit that they deserve. The mother almost drowned herself trying to save her daughter. And the men in the water as well. I can only assume they were extremely tired by that point, because as this was unfolding and I was going back to shore, my husband and my aunt got in the water with their goggles to search. And it was only about 4 or 5 minutes of them going under and up, that they were too tired themselves and couldn't get out of the current themselves. And also were struggling very hard and had to be brought back to shore by my uncle on a paddleboard. So, and I'm sure, they possibly could have floated. but it wasn't only a rip current where it's like, oh, just swim parallel, because it was also the undertow of sucking under. And even if you are a strong swimmer, that particular area is too, the water is too rough and the currents are too rough for even an amazing swimmer to get out.